All right, everyone. Wednesday, the 26th of June. We're back with the morning briefing. I am back. Ryan is back as well. And things are good, Ryan, aren't they? Very good.
Yeah, one day closer to Celtic coming back, which is always a good thing. It seems as if the Euros has came and went for Scotland. I know you were in Germany enjoying
The
the
beers have come and
festivities.
gone, and the
Yeah,
wursts have come and gone, and 14 days in a row of alcohol has come and gone. And I'm a little bit
yeah.
tender, I'll be honest with you, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm a wee bit tired after Green Day last night as well, but just looking forward to Celtic coming back. Now it should be any day now that they return to training ahead of next Friday's game against Ayr United, which I'm sure you're going to. I think you've got a ticket for that
So that's
game,
next
so
Friday.
I think so. Yeah, will
Wow,
be because I'm on
fabulous.
holiday next Sunday. So yeah, it's round about that same time flies. Celtic are already coming back, so looking forward to actually having something tangible to talk about regarding Celtic performances. There's been plenty of rumours, plenty of talk, but it's good to have something tangible like an actual Celtic performance to get your teeth into.
Time flies when you're watching Steve Clarke's Scotland play at the Euros, eh? Exhilarating stuff. I believe I saw somewhere we're back in training on Thursday. Is that public knowledge or is that
Mm,
ITK?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it's ITK or public knowledge. I would have presumed it was. I knew it was later on in the week because there wasn't
Yeah.
any chat on Monday after about 10, 11 o'clock. I was like, they're definitely not going to be in training. We would have heard by now. Later on in the week probably does make sense. There's still players on international duty. Alistair Johnson played last night. Get headbutted last
Headbutted?
night as
Yeah.
well. Yeah, but it's good to see that there'll be players coming back that'll be eager to be making a good impression, a good second impression on Brendan Rodgers. Maybe guys that have been out on loan that want to,
Yeah.
strengthen their claim to be in the first team. But yeah, looking forward to seeing even just the pictures of the players in training. I think it'll all feel real tomorrow when the fixtures get announced at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. And that's another date in the diary to look forward to. Obviously, could win the first Glasgow derby as who Celtic are kicking off against on Flag Day. So yeah, plenty to look forward to over the coming days.
So we'll have that to talk about tomorrow, will we? And we'll be a day
Yes.
closer to the team returning. Danny boy, your eyes tell a story, Hamish. He doesn't want to get in the wrong side of me the day, Danny. But they probably do. They probably do, to be honest. I was kind of saying, Ryan, I've very much been out of the I can't even speak, Ryan. What am I trying to
Celtic
say?
stratosphere, the Celtic loop.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. I've been out of the
I'll help
loop.
you. I'll help you through this one. It's all good.
Been out of the loop with regards to Celtic. I've obviously seen a few things coming up, so I thought we could chat a little bit, and you could maybe kind of help me out with some of the
hmm
stuff that's happened, and we could kind of give our thoughts on various stuff. It is good to be back. A big thanks to our sponsors of this video, MPH Boilers and Weissman, mphboilers.co.uk. And all the links will be in the description after this video. In terms of us, Ryan still got a pretty good offer. £4 for 4 months, I see going along the bottom of the screen.
£4 for 4 months. Yep. On there this morning is my exclusive interview with former Celtic player Ross Wallace. Ross Wallace is a first team coach at Fleetwood at the moment, and he was working alongside Bosun Lawal last season.
Right.
He's a player that will be desperate to get back into international training, or not international training. He was in international training, but he'll be desperate to go back into first team matters and really stake a claim next season. A couple of different thoughts concerning the people that I've spoke to regarding Bosun Lawal. Some saying that he can instantly go into the first team. Others saying that maybe another loan spell, maybe to the Championship or the top end of League One, would do him the world of good. Let's see what pre-season's got before that, before making any quick decisions. I think physically, the two people that I've spoke to, both Omar Riza, who was his former coach at Watford before he made the move to Celtic, and Ross Wallace, the physique is what gets talked about. He's a
Yeah.
man mountain of a guy. He's only 21 years old, but he is filled out in terms of his body shape and his physique. He bullies people, and he was bullying people in League One last season down in England. So exciting player. Hopefully, we see a bit more of him starting a week on Friday against Ayr United. I'd love to see him start the game and really get a chance against Scott Brown's Ayr United.
Yeah, I'm not sure totally what to think of Lowell, because he's kind of moved position now. He's viewed as a kind of midfielder, holding midfielder, rather than a centre back. We don't know yet if that's where Celtic see him, or I guess that'll become pretty obvious pretty quickly if we do see him in pre-season. I'm not
Celtic.
totally sure whether he'll get that chance when the competitive stuff comes around, but I guess if he has a good pre-season, we'll see.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. It was just the fact that Celtic do see him as a defender, and the Republic of Ireland also see him as a centre
Really?
back. That's what Ross Wallace was saying. So he was playing, inverted commas or whatever, out of position at Fleetwood, but that is his best position. It's clear.
Okay.
You look at the clips. There was a highlights clips that were going about a couple of months ago of his best bits at Fleetwood. And it's all in the middle of the park, in the middle of midfield, making things happen and breaking the lines with big runs and not really being able to be in track because he's a bit of a bulldozer. So when he starts running, you can't really stop him because he's just physically bigger than other people and denser than other people as well, you could say. So, yeah, I think it's all about convincing the coaches at Celtic and at the Republic of Ireland, because he did get called up for John O'Shea's squad, even just to train. I know he didn't make an appearance. He went back and played against England's under-21s for the Ireland under-21s. But it's all about convincing those two groups that he is a holding midfielder, because you see the confidence in his game when he actually plays in that position. I've had enough of this trying to change a player for the good of the team. If you've got to play to a player's strengths, and his strengths are clearly in the middle of the park, making things happen. So hopefully he does get a chance in that favoured position, because the more the merrier in that defensive midfield role. It's going to be a tough, long old season, and I think some youthful exuberance from Lowell would really help.
Yeah, he's going to be an interesting one to watch in pre-season. Right, in terms of other news that's happening, I've been away 2 weeks, Ryan. Come on, tell me now, who have we signed? Come on, what are the names? Who are the players we've brought in? Left back? Come on.
I would love to even tell you about a head of recruitment that Celtic have signed, but there's been nothing in the post about that whatsoever either. It seems to be more rumours. There was an exciting about half an hour yesterday on social media when Dominic Livakovic had agreed a fee, or agreed a deal with Celtic, and a fee was agreed between the two sides. Then that was quickly shut down by the same agent, whose name escapes me, the Croatian journalist that broke Juranovic's deal back in 2021.
It's Isaac Anti-Susic, I believe.
Yeah, Susic. I think he's the journalist that writes "boom" at the end of his tweets, or at the start of his tweets. Yeah. It's like a "here we go." All of these journalists have a sort of catchphrase now whenever they're announcing transfer dealings been happening, which is a sign of the new world, I guess, with transfer rumours and transfer deals. But yeah, it was an exciting half an hour when Livakovic looked as if he was coming to Celtic. That was quickly shot down, and we move on to the next one. There's been no contact between Fenerbahce, Celtic, and Dominic Livakovic. Those three parties. There's been no communication. So it's on to the next one, I guess. I mean, if I was Celtic, that would be my number one choice for a goalkeeper. But I was speaking to a Fenerbahce fan yesterday, and he was saying that in some games, Livakovic was keeping them in games single-handedly with his saves. That doesn't sound like a sort of guy that they would want to leave the club just a season into his deal. I think Jose Mourinho likes stability in his teams. In fact, he does. We've watched him for almost like 2 decades with stability at the back and in goal, the goalkeeping position. So having that sort of player in there for Jose Mourinho, I think would be quite important. So you can see why they're not letting him go. I would love the player to come. He's been one of my dream targets for a couple of years now, since he was at Zagreb when I seen him play for the Croatian national team. But it doesn't look likely at this point, which is quite disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, just on the journalist you're talking about, Isaac Anti-Susic, I've spoken to him a bit in the past. I think originally, as you say, it was the Josip Juranovic stuff that he broke, and he's a really nice guy, and he's always kind of forthcoming with information. And I think the Livakovic stuff last year, I remember when people were saying that definitely wasn't going to happen, he kind of was keeping a little bit of hope that there was interest from Celtic. As you say, this time he said that not a single word has been exchanged between Livakovic, his team, Fenerbahce and Celtic regarding any sort of transfer. So it seems very much like that was just a Turkish report. And I don't know if many of you are aware of this, but you probably will be, Ryan. You become aware from doing this job and dealing with a lot of foreign reports that Turkey and Turkish media is by far the least reliable that I've come across, for whatever reason. We actually, in a previous job we had a rule that we didn't touch reports from Turkey, because a lot of the time they're just thrown out there with very little substance, and sadly it seems like that's the case here. So it doesn't seem like Livakovic is going to be coming to Celtic, but his name's been mentioned regardless. Where are we with the goalkeeper situation?
I think, just going back to the head of recruitment just for a moment, it doesn't really matter about the head of recruitment for me when it comes to the goalkeeper. It's all about just getting somebody that knows how to play that position, can play to an extent with the ball at his feet. They don't need to be an expert at that. I just think they need to be competent enough that they can just play out to Carter Vickers or whoever's playing alongside him. Maybe more on that later on in the episode. But yeah, I just want this sorted. When Celtic knew that Joe Hart was leaving the club in February, they've had months to deal with finding a replacement. I think his replacement should have been signed yesterday, if I'm being perfectly honest. It should have already happened. He should be getting ready to join up with his teammates for first team training in the next couple of days. So the fact that he's not been identified, nothing's really solid in the goalkeeping rumour department either, which concerns me. It seems like the other strong link was with Jensen, that was at Sparta Prague. There seemed to be a bit of talk in that, and there seemed to be a bit of movement too. But then you look more into that deal, and he'd literally just signed for Sparta Prague on a permanent deal from AZ Alkmaar. I think he signed in February or March, so you'd have to pay a premium price to get him out of his contract, because he'll still have a long-term deal ahead of him. I just want this sorted, Hamish, I'll be honest. I want it sorted soon, because every day, granted, the past couple of days there hasn't been that much talk about a goalkeeper. Then the Livakovic stuff came out again. I just want this sorted, because it's all about strong foundations ahead of next season. Not be bringing in a goalkeeper midway through July when they start the season. Celtic are fighting on 4 fronts next season when it comes to the League Cup, the Champions League and the Scottish Cup into the new year. They need a goalkeeper that's going to realistically play in all of those competitions. So yeah, time is of the essence to get that position sorted.
I think just talking, more widely about the other positions. You look at it and you take it this summer on its own, and it's 26th of June. I know the team are back in whenever, a couple of days, tomorrow, whatever. It is still relatively early in terms of the season, and the transfer window's still got another over 2 months to run. But I just think when you look at the previous windows and how they've gone, and the fact that it has seemed to take an age, and then it's not even as if the club have got it right at the end of that age. It's almost been like you take ages, and then more often than not you rush and get the wrong signing in. And I know there's been a couple of exceptions. I mean, Adam Ida, Paulo Bernardo, but I just think you want the club to really be proactive this summer, and to kind of act like a big club and get players in the positions that need filled. That's what we as fans want. We're not asking for anything wild, I don't think. We're asking for the club to recruit efficiently and well in the positions that can improve the squad. And it does seem already, as I say, it's relatively early days, but it does seem like things are dragging a little bit. And I think that'll only increase now that Scotland are out of the Euros, and now that the team, as I say, are going to be back imminently at Lennoxtown. The pressure will kind of be on pretty quickly, because it's not going to go down well at all if we start playing matches with players playing in positions that shouldn't necessarily be there, with all due respect.
Yeah, Scott Bain in goals for starters. He cannot be a first team choice, apart from maybe League Cup games or Scottish Cup games. If you're doing rotation, if you need to do rotation, the goal in terms of other positions as well. It's been known for about a year now that Celtic need better players at left back position. They probably need 2 left backs with the Bernabei situation, as well as potential. Greg Taylor. I like him as a Celtic player, but I think I would much rather want him to be playing in the Tony Ralston role next season, in terms of maybe coming in for games and having maybe a first choice left back come through the door. It still remains to be seen if Mitchell Frame is going to make that breakthrough this season. He played against Feyenoord, and then we never seen him again for the rest of the season, which was unfortunate because I thought he equipped himself quite well in that game. And there's other positions, Celtic have only got realistically one striker as well, with O seemingly leaving the club. Seems to be active negotiations between the player and Genk. I think there was an improved offer put in late last week, so I guess they're just getting it sorted. He wants to leave the club, it's clear. He wants more game time. He hardly get any game time once Adam Idah came to the fore at Celtic. Now Adam Idah's gone, looks like O's going, so it's only Kyogo that's left in the building at this moment in time. So that's another position. You look at the wingers. Do Celtic need better wingers? Potentially. If Matt O'Reilly leaves the club, if Rio Tati potentially leaves the club, they'll need midfielders. So all of a sudden, there's loads of areas in which there needs to be strengthening. And even in areas that maybe don't need strengthening, but in an ideal world, you'd want them to be better ahead of the challenges that will come both domestically and in the Champions League. It's going to be a long old season. They need recruitments, and the fact that it's the 26th of June and there's nothing really credible at this point in time, between that and the fact there's no head of recruitment is a slight worry for me. And I get more worried as the days go on about the head of recruitment role and what they're doing with that.
Yeah, Hazel making an interesting point. I think, just hoping that Celtic are really good at keeping transfers quiet and a lot will happen quickly. I think, to be fair, that has happened in the past. The days of us kind of getting weeks and weeks and weeks of being linked with a player and then signing them, maybe it happens occasionally. Can't think of too many recently. Most of the signings recently have you've heard of them, and then maybe a couple of days later they've been, at Celtic Park with a scarf above their head. So maybe that's something to keep an eye on, that things can change pretty quickly. But I think as supporters, we do just feel that similar feeling to the previous couple of windows. And as I say, you could kind of forgive them if it was taking a while, but we were getting it right. But we've not even got that trust in the recruitment team to get it right at the moment, and that's a big worry for me. Charlie's saying he's getting that deja vu feeling. Jerry wants us to get some quality in now, saying he wants us to get the ball rolling with some signings. Chilpal saying shocking how slow we're getting players in. What else is going on, Ryan?
Haksabanovic looks as if he's leaving the club. I don't think anybody's really surprised at that. He's got a bit of a nomadic career in terms of where he stays at clubs. It seems as if he's at a club, it either works out for him and he gets a better move, or it doesn't work out and he moves elsewhere. Looks as if it's going to be the latter. He was playing's a strong word for his contributions at Stoke City last season. I kept on checking their games, and in a lot of games he was left on the bench. He wasn't even coming onto the pitch after seemingly starting quite well down south. It looks as if he's moving on to Malmo. He's still got quite a few years left in his deal, so I'm guessing that Celtic will get a good bit of money, maybe even some profit, because he didn't really spend that much on him from Rubin Kazan. I think Celtic took advantage of the situation that was going on over there in terms of players and player registrations.
We get like a million and a half for him? Is that what we'll get?
$1.5 million is what Celtic signed him for. So there's been talk about £2.5 million.
Oh, wow.
So a profit would be quite good. As well, looks as if they'll get a tidy profit on him. So that is good business from Celtic on one end. These players aren't going to be making any impact for Celtic next season, or it wouldn't look like that anyway, unless they had an amazing pre-season. But I think we've seen everything that these players can give. More importantly, we've seen what they can't give, which is consistency. And they're now moving on to pastures new, seemingly in the next couple of days or few weeks. It's good business, but I just want good business to be happening on the other end as well. And these players, despite not having a big impact, you still need to replace them in terms of numbers, whether that be in the youth department or and new players, because they were first-team signings. Haksabanovic was a first-team signing. I remember he started for Celtic in the Champions League against, I think it was Shakhtar Donetsk when they were playing in Poland. And he looked great enough, but flattered to deceive in a lot of games. Good goals, good individual goals. Not sure he had the motor to play in Ange Postecoglou side. Rodgers, I think, sussed him out pretty quickly. The Instagram post was basically the end of his Celtic career. And funnily enough, the players that have liked that Instagram post back in the day, Bernabe, they're all leaving the club. So,
Fata.
It seems as if Brendan Rodgers is found not the mutiny people, but those players that were maybe showing that discontent, and now they're all leaving the club. So it's quite interesting when you look at it on that in that sense.
Listen, he's a talented enough player, Haksabanovic. You saw that not last season, but the year before. With I remember a couple of goals he scored. One against Hibs, one against Hearts, very similar goals. But he never, I remember after that Hearts game, there was a real clamour for him to start, and he started in a cup game, you might remember, at Tynecastle, and he didn't do anything. And I think he had a bit of the Mikey Johnsons about him, in that he was capable of something pretty good off the bench, but mainly when he started, it was like it was a different kind of mental pressure that he was unable to deal with. So I don't think you're going to find too many Celtic fans too fussed about Haksabanovic going. His career at Celtic was over the minute he put that Instagram post out. You'd get away with that across the city. You don't get away with that at a club like Celtic with our standards. So that's fine. If we make 2.5 million, I think that's result of the century. To be honest, I think if we make pretty much anything off from $1 million, something like that, I'll be pretty pleased. We've had kind of new kits, training stuff out yesterday. I saw some, again, I've half seen this, everyone, sorry, but it was a white one with like green bits, and it looks like the nicest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, it does look nice. I seen the other one that would get the traffic stopped, or the opposite, actually, make the traffic go. It was that green, the green with the white. Yeah. It's somebody was saying it looks like a sort of Nigerian top, and I do subscribe to that. It's one of those ones that could be potentially a grower in the weeks and months to come. I think if you don't like it now, to be fair, you'll never like it. But I know I've completely contradicted myself there, but I think it's okay. The Dearden stuff does sell. Look at last season's top. Last season's top still did sell, even though it was very, very, very controversial. And that one grew on me as the season went on. I actually thought it was okay. And you'll look back on that one with a bit of fondness. Maybe not even liking the top, but the memories that are associated with it, particularly domestically, Brendan Rodgers' first season back. Yeah, it's one of those ones. The young ones will buy it. The young ones like all the Dearden stuff. I say the young ones if I'm not a young one. I don't feel like one, but I still am kinda. Would I buy it? I'm not so sure, but I do like the home top. The home top is looking very, very good in the pictures that I've seen of it so far. Don't mess about with the hoops, and I think you're on to a winner, aren't you?
There was murmurings of I've seen a photo of a yellow away top as well that looks pretty interesting. But we'll wait and see if that comes to anything. Did you see? I don't know if you touched on when I flew back yesterday, I put the Joe Hart interview that he's done with Jake Humphrey's podcast, and I watched that, and I fast forwarded to the Celtic bit. I thought that was really, really good. Have you seen that at all? Have you touched on that at all?
I've got to be honest, I've only watched clips. I've watched the clip that was getting shared about when he was talking about how he had to drag himself back into the game after feeling so overwhelmed by seeing that big tifo of him. I thought that was absolutely brilliant. I've got to say, I'm so surprised at how he's one of my biggest surprises in terms of watching Celtic and following Celtic, of a guy that gets Celtic, because I thought it was going to be the opposite when he joined the club. There was a lot of doubts at whether or not he would buy into that, coming down or coming up from England, from, going about the teams, going through Burnley, going through Tottenham. Would there be that connect between the fans and the goalkeeper? My goodness. And then some. It's been absolutely tremendous. The fact that he's saying that he wants to join the Green Brigade for a game next season, I'm like, is this the same guy that I watched play 75 times for England? It's incredible. To say, just on a bit of a side note, he's been absolutely tremendous in the punditry as well. Everybody's talking about his posture because it's so good, because he's sitting up straight in the punditry. I actually mentioned that yesterday in the podcast, but he's been absolutely brilliant, given that different dynamic, talking about goalkeepers and what they go through in a game. Because you hear about the midfielders, defenders and strikers, you don't really hear of goalkeepers that much ever since sort of David James stopped doing the punditry as much. You've not really had that insight, but now you do with Joe Hart. I doubt this will be the last time that you see Joe Hart doing punditry. I think there'll be quite a few media companies that are at his doorstep asking him to join their coverage ahead of next season. He's been a breath of fresh air on the punditry.
Yeah, I'd urge anyone who hasn't seen that interview with Jake Humphrey's podcast, unless I'm actually not a huge fan of Jake Humphrey. personally, but the interview with Joe Hart is excellent, and they spend about 15 or 20 minutes talking about his time at Celtic. Obviously a fair bit on why he joined the club, but lots on the past 3 months since he announced he was going to be retiring. And he gets really emotional at one point, and it's interesting because it's not he's not emotional about his family. I don't think anyway. Well, he has been in the past, but in this case, it wasn't his family. It was actually his Celtic teammates. I think he was asked the question, what did your teammates do during this period when all this was happening? He just said they allowed me to be me. And he kind of broke down at that stage, and I thought, God, that's a guy who loves Celtic, but also absolutely loves that core of players that we've got in that dressing room. And also he said an interesting thing about he felt that it had taken a while, that's maybe obvious, but it had taken a while for the team to gel under Brendan Rodgers, but he felt when they understood what Rodgers was wanting from them and clicked, they were flying. So I think that's very exciting for next season, the fact that the team have now clicked under Brendan Rodgers. And I'm just really excited for things to get underway again. Listen, the Euros was great. It has been great. I think Scotland aside, it's been a brilliant tournament. There's been so many good games, so much drama. I think every team apart from Scotland and England have been good to watch. And I think the knockouts are going to be great. But I'm so excited for what's to come with Celtic, and we need the club to add to that excitement. Get some players in who can really have us believing that we can go and win the treble next season. Have us believing that we can go and get out of that huge 36-team league in the Champions League and through to knockout football. Make us believe and get everyone really excited, because I just think next season's got potential to be brilliant. There's so many different things going on that are kind of coming to a head next season. People have their own thoughts on the away derby allocations, but I think that's a big thing for me personally. The derbies are going to be bigger next season. Even stuff like more Scottish football being on television next year, with the Premier getting 20 games. So I'm really excited. We just need some signings now, Ryan.
Once the first signing is through the door, then I think that excitement will come back, or not even come back, but increase, because I think the excitement is still there, and the goodwill of last season is still very much present. It helps when you beat Rangers in a Scottish Cup final. That goodwill is going to then extend over the summer. Yes, the Euros weren't great in Scotland's in Scotland's eyes. Watching Scotland, it was a poor tournament for them by all accounts, but there's still that good feeling about Celtic, and even the players that are coming back from the Euros, even the players that haven't played a minute and the Euros, will still be excited to come back because they know what they're coming back to. That awkwardness, the awkwardness that Brendan Rodgers was talking about in the first 6 months, that'll be gone now. Everyone believes now, once again, that he is the rightful Celtic manager at this point in time. Everybody's used to it now. There was always that belief, at least in my head. It was like, it's quite weird having Brendan Rodgers back at the club. Now it's just normal. He's just back. He won trophies last season. He did it, and now he's on to the next one. He's got a 3-year deal. I think he'll not to tempt fate, but I think he'll be there longer than the 3 years, because I think he'll want to build something here. This is all about legacy. This spell at Celtic for Brendan Rodgers. He wants to cement himself in the history books at Celtic, and by doing that, he's got to make a fist of it in Europe. He's got to just continue the domination in the Scottish League, win trebles, win doubles if trebles aren't available. Yeah, I'm just excited for next season. Get that first signing through the door, statement of intent, whoever it may be, get those signings in and just look forward to, in particular, that Champions League. I'm really, really excited to see how this new format works. I've only seen it work in Football Manager. I'll be honest, when your save goes long enough that you actually play in the Swiss model, but it is exciting, and every game will mean something, and because it's a massive league table, it is actually a Champions League rather than the group stages than the knockouts. The league part of it definitely holds up, and much like the Nations League, Celtic will also be playing against teams that are on their level too, because they'll be playing pot 4, 3, 2 and 1. So that's exciting too. I'm just looking forward to seeing it all get started, to be honest.
And it will get started very soon, as we say, Celtic back in training very soon. And then United next Friday. You completely reminded me of that, so I'm very excited to go. And we still get the Euros going on in the background as well. Have you enjoyed the Euros? It's been decent
Very much
enough.
so. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't miss too much last night, apart from the Austria-Netherlands game, which seemed to be quite crazy. Was keeping up to date with the scores on my phone when I did get connection at Bellahouston Park. Terrible place for internet connection, that's for sure. But it's been really, really good. There's not been many games that have been boring. Like you said, it's been the England and Scotland games that have really bored me, to be honest. And even then, I thought the England-Denmark game was decent in the second half. Matt O'Reilly, who I think would have had a really good tournament.
I was chatting to so many Denmark fans in Stuttgart, and I'd had a few drinks, everyone, and the first thing I said to all of them was like Matt O'Reilly, and genuinely, I kind of expected Matt O'Reilly to be a bit of an afterthought there, and it kind of like, he plays in Scotland, he's never really played for Denmark, but when I mentioned Matt O'Reilly, all of them, and I mean all of them, said to me he should be, not just in the squad, he should be playing. I think at that stage they'd just drawn with Slovenia, which I think was actually in Stuttgart, where we were. So they were maybe a little bit downbeat as a result of that. They're maybe slightly better now, but they were all saying, Matt O'Reilly should be in that squad. It should be in that team as well. So I just thought that was kind of interesting to pass on.
Yeah, there was a table that was going about, funnily enough, that had Christian Eriksen. I know it will be different now because some teams have played 3 games and other teams have still played 2. It might have even changed for Denmark with the chances that they maybe made last night. But Eriksen was the top chance creator in the Euros at one point after 2 games. I'm just thinking, that's great, and it's great to see that, but I believe that Matt O'Reilly could have done that, and he's more mobile than Christian Eriksen as well. Missed opportunity. Unfortunately, in my opinion and in my head, I think that will push Matt O'Reilly out the door because he'll want to have that international aspirations. And if he's not getting called up, I think he will be getting called up regardless of what team he plays for next season because of just the turnaround in the Denmark team. They've got a bit of an aging side. I think Eriksen will probably retire in the next couple of years, if not after this tournament. And there will be that space for him to come in. He's got good competition in terms of playing alongside Haaland, who plays for Sporting Lisbon, who looks like a really good player, who scored that screamer against England. But it's definitely a team that's going to get younger as the years go on, and Matt O'Reilly will be wanting to be involved in that. Do I think he'll probably leave in order to cement that place? Probably, but it means that Celtic will get top money for him because he's still got 3 years left in his deal on this new deal that he's got. So they'll make money off of him regardless. Not that I've resigned myself to the fact that he's going, but in my head, I'm like, if an offer does come in from an Inter, an Atletico, a team like that, then it's going to be difficult for him to say no. But he's one of those players you just enjoy him while he's there.
We do indeed, right? We're going to head off, everyone. I appreciate you sticking with the channel. Lots of you watching live. Subscribe, Ryan, is that what we'd say as well?
Certainly,
please?
Yeah, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll be notified of when we go live with videos, both pre-recorded videos. Hopefully there'll be more pre-recorded videos coming very soon when Celtic actually get solid links with some football players and I can speak to some experts about players coming in the door. But yeah, we're kind of just waiting on a big link to come, and then we'll start speaking to people in more depth. But yeah, stay tuned for that. Subscribe, and you'll be the first to know when we do go live with those videos and the morning briefings. Yeah.
Right. Okay. We'll be back tomorrow, and I promise to be in a slightly more coherent and positive state. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks, Ryan. Speak to you tomorrow.